Coming up, we are learning more about the woman found dead in the back of an SUV after a police chase.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 11.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. Family and friends are remembering a woman found dead in the back of an SUV. Kentucky State Police identified Rachel Carter from Huntington, West Virginia as the victim. Her body was found in the back of David Reed's SUV after leading police on a multi-county chase. It ended in Laurel County along I-75. Emily Bennett spoke to friends of Carter who say they're in shock.
When friends think of Rachel Carter,
she's pretty much my second mom.
Her laugh and smile flash through their minds.
We would just look at each other and start laughing. When we'd hang out, we would just always have fun. There was never a dull moment.
But now that laugh is just a memory for Brandy Davis, learning her best friend was killed.
Tuesday around 2 or 3 is the last time I heard from her.
Kentucky State Police say Wednesday morning, David Reed from Florida was arrested after a multi-county high-speed police chase in southern Kentucky. During the search of the SUV Reed was driving, they found Rachel Carter's body in a plastic tote in the back of the vehicle.
There is such evil in this world, and that man was very evil.
Troopers say Carter had an injury caused by an edged weapon and facial trauma. Troopers charged Reed with murder, and they are still investigating where Carter was killed.
She would tell me a lot of stories, but I just didn't think that it was this bad, that it was going to end up like this.
Davis says Carter knew Reed for nearly her whole life, as he spent decades living in Huntington.
And every time I've been around him, he's been an okay person, but people are different behind doors.
Carter moved to Florida for a little over a year after her father died, but Davis said she had been back in Huntington for more than 6 months.
She has no family besides her friends. I mean, she's pretty much our family. She's grown up in my family.
Now left without her best friend, Davis just wants answers as to why this happened.
What did she do to make you want to hurt her? I mean, she's a kind-hearted person. She'll do anything for anybody. She loved him. She took care of him. And he done her like this.
That was Emily Bennett reporting. Right now, police have not told us exactly what the relationship between Carter and David Reed was or what led up to Carter's death.
Well, the breezes have calmed down at least a touch, but it is still a rather windy night throughout the mountains tonight. That has helped usher in much colder air. A look outside I-64 at Moorhead at this hour. It's quiet on the interstate, though what you can't see is the wind whipping around with those gusts out there. 43 now in Moorhead, 45 in Somerset as some folks go around the traffic circle downtown. We are in the middle 40s now. We ended up in the middle 60s today, so we've already dropped about 20 degrees. This is where we should be for daytime highs this time of year, and we're only heading lower tonight because those winds are still gusty out there, between 20 and 30 miles per hour. Not all the time. We had a gust earlier today of 51 at London Corbin Airport, and Charleston Airport was also gusting near 50 earlier. We are watching a few showers, flurries, trying to cross the Ohio River near Louisville. And we're going to try to see those move in tonight. I can't rule it out, but for the most part, most of that action will stay to our north with mostly clear to partly cloudy skies tonight, mid-30s for overnight lows. Details on when we return to some more average weather in a few minutes. Steve?
Evan, thank you. The landscape of many eastern Kentucky cities was permanently changed by the July flood. Now, nearly 6 months later, one local business is hoping to emerge from the flood stronger than before. WYMT's Keaton Hall spoke with the owner of Kentucky Mist Distillery in Whitesburg about their recent expansion.
Back in July, Kentucky Mist Distillery in Whitesburg was flooded with roughly 3 feet of water.
When I first woke up that morning, I just thought, I didn't think it was nothing major until I made my way here.
Owner Colin Fultz says the distillery was one of the first businesses to reopen following the floods, thanks to hard work of volunteers.
The Red Cross brought around food and fed us while we cleaned the places up and stuff, and it's been good. I mean, everybody's tried to help all they can to help other people get back to what we were before the flood.
Now, nearly 6 months later, the Whitesburg staple is expanding its business. purchasing a 10,000 square foot building right across the street.
It's as big as the building we have now, including the basement. So, I mean, it'll be great for us.
Fultz says the new building, which was formerly a car dealership and most recently owned by Apple Shop, will serve as a warehouse.
And last month, we bought enough bottles to do us for the year, and it was probably about 45,000 bottles, and we just didn't have the room to store it.
And with stores in Alabama and South Carolina, more bottles are necessary.
We're in a little portion of the state, but hopefully by the end of the year, that's one of our goals, is to have the state of Kentucky covered, so.
Helping to share the spirit of the mountains. In Whitesburg, Keaton Hall, WYMT Mountain News.
Fultz says they hope to be using the new building for storage within the next week or two. A Perry County man spent time in Selma, Alabama following last week's tornado there. Chris Hall from 606 Storm Chasing says after chasing here in Kentucky, he left once he heard about the Selma tornado. He says his team was able to give back to some people there by giving out generators and helping serve food. He says right now survivors there could still use water and clothing.
They're so grateful. I had more handshakes and more hugs than I think I ever had in my life, and just the folks down there are very grateful for every little thing that they can get right now.
Alabama Governor Kay Ivey says the state was approved for a major disaster declaration for 2 counties. Officials with the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet presented one of its employees with an award this morning after he saved a man's life during the July flood. 21-year-old Daniel Smith was presented with a Heroic Action Safety Award. Smith pulled a man out of floodwaters in Pike County after hearing the man's wife yelling for help. When asked what happened after he saved the man, Smith simply replied, "I got back to work." Transportation officials say his bravery and dedication goes beyond what's expected.
That just shows the dedication that we have here, that they can do something so heroic and then just get right back on the job. So we're super proud of him for that.
State KYTC officials were also in attendance this morning and thanked Smith for his heroic actions. Kentucky communities can now apply to be certified recovery ready as state leaders work to combat the opioid epidemic. Back in June, Governor Beshear announced the program, which is now ready to roll out to help people who are seeking treatment from addiction. As Chad Hedrick explains, recovery advocates have been working and hoping to see a program like this launch so patients could get help closer to home.
After a record year of overdose deaths in 2021, Kentucky is ramping up efforts to save lives and give people a second chance.
Recovery Ready Communities effort is really a testimony to what we're facing with addiction, substance use disorder.
Thursday, Governor Beshear announcing applications are now open for the Recovery Ready Community Program. First revealed in June, the effort is designed to offer support groups, recovery meetings, and employment services at no cost to those currently seeking treatment for a drug or alcohol addiction.
Getting back into the community, that's where we see the recidivism, that's where we see relapses occur. So providing communities that are ready to embrace folks as they're finishing paying their debt to society through incarceration, or as they're completing residential treatment, to have somewhere where they can relearn or learn a new skill set and enter the workforce.
To be a recovery-ready community, there is a certain criteria a community must meet from an evaluation. If a community does not meet the criteria, officials with the program will explain why and work with them to fix what needs addressed so they can be approved.
This is going to be a huge boost to all of the tragic overdose and loss that we've experienced over the past decades. This is the answer. This is what's going to turn the tides.
Chad Hedrick, WYMT Mountain News.
There is no deadline for applying to be a recovery-ready community. An advisory panel will approve communities on a rolling basis. Earlier today, U.S. Secretary of Education Miguel Cardona visited 2 schools in Perry County, surveying the difference that promised neighborhood grants are making in the schools in our region. Cardona also sat down with parents and community leaders to learn more about what he can take back to D.C. after making another big announcement.
We announced today $27 million in promised neighborhood grants, and coming here to see how They're using Promise Neighborhood grants here to give students opportunities, 3-year-olds to go to school earlier, high school students to think about career pathways that they wouldn't have had otherwise.
The money was granted to Partners for Rural Impact as their focus is developing students from cradle to career. 4 businesses in Floyd County are working to become more accessible to everyone. City Hall, Kreider's Barbershop, Hayden Pediatric Dentistry, and Megan Goebel Photography have all joined forces as autism sensory-friendly businesses, all donning a logo that represents the community support, the famous city bridge, and a puzzle piece.
You always see that Archer Bridge with everything, so everybody knows automatically it means Prestonsburg. For me, what it meant was whenever you're looking at it, the puzzle pieces together, you know, it's Prestonsburg and the autism community coming together.
Kreider, who's the mother of children with autism, says it's a blessing to have a community that wants her kids to always feel at home. Coming up on Mountain News at 11, we're breaking down the mental health challenges that college athletes can face, particularly at the University of Kentucky.
And we're all dry as we say hello to the weekend, but we've got a few changes on the way once we get there. The breakdown coming up.
All across Kentucky, an empty chair, a place missing at the table.